Hey there, it's Patricia Young, and I just wanted to take a little time. I've been getting some questions about the online groups that Jen Perry and I are each running for highly sensitive people, HSPs. We are currently running some groups right now. They're going really great. The feedback that we're getting is pretty powerful. We'll be starting new groups again in the fall, and what I wanted to do was just take a little time to talk to you about some of the modules that we cover in the group, and then if you want more information, and I'll repeat this at the end, there's a link in the comments, and Jen and I did a 40-minute podcast episode talking more in depth about each of the modules, and then they're broken down individually. So if you want to know a little bit more about what we're doing in the groups, but the format that we're using is we've recorded videos that before each group, a video is sent out with some prompts that the group members can listen to so that when group comes, we really have time for people to talk about what their thoughts are, how they were impacted by the video, the topics that we're covering. And I'm going to be looking down to look at my little cheat sheet is we start out by getting everybody's story about how did you find out you were an HSP? How do you feel about it? What are some of the messages that you got about it? What is it that you want to get from the group? Creating group norms and safety in the group so that everybody feels seen and heard. Then we look at identifying the negative messages that we've gotten as HSPs. Many of us have been told that you're too sensitive, you're too needy, you're too dramatic, you're too emotional, you think too much, you worry too much, you need to get thicker skin, you can't take a joke. I mean, that's just a couple of them. And the gift is that from those negative messages, we really look at, was that really about us or the other person? How do you handle it when you're told those things? And then taking our perceived shortcomings and turning them into superpowers. So I was always told, you think too much. I do. As highly sensitive people, more areas of our brain light up when we are in situations. So we're taking in lots of information. We're deep thinkers. So the strength for that is I am great at troubleshooting, forecasting, projecting, planning. I'm really good at those things. But if I hadn't done work around this, I would have just accepted that fact of like, oh, I think too much, I analyze too much. So we all have amazing strengths. And really my whole goal in the work that I do with working with highly sensitive people and providing education is I really want people to get that it is a tremendous strength and advantage to be highly sensitive. And I want to help people uncover whatever that junk is that keeps us from seeing that and experiencing that. So another area that we talk about is perfectionism. And Brene Brown says, anytime you have perfectionism driving, shame is riding shotgun. So how do we learn to show up and be our authentic selves? What are the things that we tell in that myth of perfectionism? Because there is no such thing as perfectionism. We also talk about demystifying emotions that I think many of us feel afraid of our feelings. We have big emotional responses to things. We don't like the way that we feel. So learning how to identify what are the myths that we have around our emotions, and when they come up, how can we work with them and be friendly with them? Because things are going to come up in our lives. We just want to learn how to learn to be with it and ride through it. It's not about not having bad experiences or negative experiences. It's about really being present with the emotions in ways that feel more manageable and don't take us out. We also talk about self-care. Self-care is imperative as a highly sensitive person. And so are we doing the things that we need? Are we getting enough rest? Are we getting enough time alone? Are we taking time to nourish our bodies, to move our bodies in gentle ways? What are we consuming in terms of news or people that we spend time with? We also talk about boundaries. Boundaries are really important, and it's about getting clear on what is it that I need, what are the things that prevent me from setting boundaries. Because as highly sensitive people, we have more mirror neurons and we're very empathic. We often imagine, not always in our favor, of how other people might feel if we share things with them or set limits with them, and that often keeps us from taking care of ourselves. So those are some things that we work on. This last week we did some role plays when we were talking about boundaries, and it was really amazing to see that one of the members in the group felt really stumped, and when we did this little role play, she's like, oh, that was easy. And then when we did another role play where the facilitator kind of was a little wishy-washy about, well, I don't know if I can do that, I don't know. And just watching this role play, like I got a knot in my stomach. It felt really uncomfortable. And when you say something as simple as like, I don't think that's going to work for me, It's easy, it's done. We don't have to go into long explanations. We also talk about communication, vulnerability, and authenticity, that often we are afraid to say what we're thinking. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. We're concerned that our perception may not be right. We may be judged or criticized. So how do we learn to show up and be authentic and vulnerable with our communication? Because that's really where we get connection. When we're willing to kind of let down that I'm fine, everything's great, we have deep, meaningful connection. And as highly sensitive people, that's really what often kind of keeps us going, is that sense of meaning and depth and connection. We also do a lot of work on mindfulness and self-compassion, being able to curiously observe what's going on and have tremendous amount of compassion for that precious human that's inside of us. So how can we observe what's going on without going into self-hate, blaming, being a victim, just having lots of self-compassion? And then the last topic is creating a lifestyle that's HSP friendly. Is our life set up in a way that really works and nurtures and serves us? Because we know that highly sensitive people, put them in a positive situation, they're going to fare much better than non-HSPs. You put them in a negative situation and we're going to fare much worse than non-HSPs. So it's really been exciting to be running these groups and to see how people are learning about themselves and seeing the things that they stumble on, getting a chance to practice, using the videos between sessions to get information so that when we meet online, that time is really spent for the group being able to talk about whatever's coming up for them, and the experience of being in a group with other highly sensitive people. So people don't have that sense of what's wrong with me, how come I'm alone. People have said like, oh, it's so nice to know that I'm not the only one that experiences this. So you can use these topics that I've talked about and kind of assess, where are you at in your life with these things? Are these things that are going well for you? Are these things that you're struggling with? Do you have some of them that go well some of the time? It's obviously not going to be like, I've nailed everything, because life is about learning to work through things. But it gives you a little chance to do a check-in and evaluate, where are you at with these things? How are your relationships going? How restored and nourished are you feeling in your life? I hope you found this helpful. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.